Hi, I'm Dave, and welcome to what isn't really an entry for RPG a Day. Basically, I've been chatting with Anthony Boyd from the RPG Brigade, who helped host RPG a Day. God, I'm saying RPG rather a lot this time, aren't I? Sorry about that. Anyway, I've been chatting to him online about how we thought this year's RPG a Day went. Just sort of seeing how it all went down, what we'd noticed online and things like that. While he's been paying a lot closer attention to everybody's responses than I have, because I've been working as always, we thought we'd have make a little video just to see what we'd come up with. I must admit, having a look online to see what people have been talking about this month has been great. RPG a Day's always been about positivity and inclusivity and diversity and spreading the word of RPGs and how good they are for people, how they get people away from using their phones and sitting on computers all the time, and how it's a nice social environment and it's really good interactive storytelling, gets your imagination going, all that kind of business. But while we've tried to make it as widespread as possible, this year certainly has felt like it's spread further than ever before. In previous years, I have noticed a couple of posts going online about people whining about the theory behind it and saying how, oh God, not going to join in with that nonsense again and all that stuff, and how they've kind of, to sound incredibly British, poo-pooed the idea. Whereas this year, not really at all. There have been a few criticisms about the questions, but people who have criticised the questions have still gone on to do alternate questions or revisited the questions from previous years and things like that. So they're still taking part, and that's brilliant. And we've seen it spread worldwide, and huge thanks to the brigade who've had volunteers who have translated the questions into French, Spanish, German, Portuguese, and just spread it everywhere. And I've seen so many good responses worldwide. It's been fantastic. So I just wanted to finish off by thanking Anthony, who I'll be handing over to on this video soon, for hosting again this year, which has been brilliant. And also to thank everybody who's taken part, which has been a hell of a lot of people. Thank you again for joining in and spreading the good vibes. As for the future of RPG a Day, who can tell? That's a whole year away yet. Anything could happen between now and then. Let's just say that after 120 odd questions, it's getting difficult to come up with new questions. So next year we might do something a little bit different. I'm looking into some different and alternative ways of doing RPG a Day. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But please make sure you like the Facebook page. I'll pop the little link on the bottom there. Follow the Facebook page, because then you can be up to date to whatever format RPG a Day returns next year. If you're interested in anything that I write particularly, check out my blog. I'll put the link for that up here as well. There's links to all my kind of rubbish through autocratik.com. So, without further ado, I shall hand over to Anthony Boyd, who is the real labour force behind this year and last year's RPG a Day, and see what he came up with and see what his observations are. Thank you again for taking part, and thank you again, Anthony, for doing it again this year. Until next time, stay multi-classy.
As always, you are very gracious in your introductions, David, and I thank you for that, and once again for the opportunity of being involved. Now that we've reached the end of RPG a Day for 2017, it's still just as interesting and rewarding and fulfilling as the idea of participating was at the beginning of last year. This is an event that I find to be invigorating or reinvigorating, and it is fully in line with the non-playing parts of the hobby that I like engaging with. I play a lot. I play a lot of games, and lately I've been lucky to be able to play them as a player as well as a game master. A few years ago, I wasn't able to say that. It seems every game I was involved with, I was running. So that change is a welcome one. It's taking me back to the old days where everybody I played with also ran games, and we ran the same games, and we each had our own specialty games and that sort of thing. I've missed it. It's nice, at least for this brief period of time, to have it back. And it's these changes, these shifts, these differences of play, which I find really fascinating. And when I'm occupying my mind with thoughts of the hobby during times when I'm not actually playing, these are the things that I'm curious about. These are the questions that I ask and wonder. And the answers have presented us over the last 2 years and the 2 years before that with a very interesting cross-section of who we all are as role-playing gamers. There are distinct patterns. If you start searching, if you start using the hashtag from the last 2 years, or start searching for RPG a day from the years before that, you start to notice very distinct patterns. Big ones, such as there's a large group of people who, like me, enjoys exploring new games and adding new games to their palette all the time. And there's a hardcore group that focuses on just a few. And there's an even more hardcore, harder core group that focuses on one, or one edition of one, or something along those lines. We have, therefore, like any other hobby, we have people who drill down and become specialists in one particular aspect. Then we have people who gloss over and flit around from piece to piece, and we have people somewhere in between in the spectrum. And when all of these different types of people begin to respond to the same prompt, I think something akin to magic happens. There's a transformational aspect which our experience brings to that. Even the core understanding of the question is affected by our experience in the hobby. When asked how you do something, or when you do something, or why you do something, or with whom you do something, and so on, when you ask these kinds of questions, the answers are not the same. The answers are deeply informed by the kind of experience that we've had. And sharing that experience opens up all kinds of doors for different people. Someone who's feeling intimidated by starting a new game can take strength from someone who's been playing the same game for a decade, and look at that person and their confidence and their surety, their ability to apply and adapt that system, and they can realize that with a little application, with a little effort, with a little patience, they're going to start down that road on that new game that they're playing, and how much mastery over it they achieve is entirely dependent on the amount of play they experience. That's pretty awesome. The questions this year, it was very interesting for me to note, had a slower drop-off, and then there was a resurgence, and then another gradual drop-off toward the end. Any event like this will see participation wane. It's a very ambitious thing to say to yourself, I'm going to write, or film, or tweet, or whatever. Use social media to communicate a response to an RPG question every day for 31 days. Life has to give you a hand if you're going to get all the way through that, or you need to be in firm control of your schedule. I know that some people sat down over the course of one day and did all their answers in whatever method they wanted to use. They wrote all their blog posts, or they filmed all of their responses, and made note of everything they planned to tweet and so on. Others did it live. Others did it so live that their first experience of the question was when they were sitting down to respond to it. So sometimes questions were surprising. Last year, most of the questions were of a deep nature, looking for longer answers, because there we were focusing on actual play. That was the theme. Actual play. This year's theme was focused on the games we play. Now, both last year and this year allowed us to explore a lot about our community, and now those answers are out there, and there are thousands upon thousands of them. And even though not everybody who started the event finished the event, a lot more did finish than in any previous year. And there were higher points of participation as we went through the month than in any previous year. And there were more examples of people releasing all of their answers at once than at any previous year, or in pieces, like part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, that kind of thing. And even interesting to me, there was a larger number of people who soldiered on past day 31 and decided to answer all the alternate questions as well. So, there's interest in communicating answers like these. There's interest in talking about who you are as a gamer, why you game, the things that draw you to the people that you game with, and so on and so forth. And this is an opportunity for people who are interested in the community to investigate, to look for those patterns, to really survey those answers and find out the games that were the most memorable over the 40 years of the hobby. And I don't mean sessions, I mean the actual games. Which games keep surfacing again and again, despite having been released possibly before the person who's talking about the game was even born or even a gamer? Which games enabled the sort of play that produces a distinct and lasting memory? Which method of play does that? How many of us move from game to game? How many of us are still playing with the people that we started with? How many of us add new games all the time? How many of us have achieved satisfaction with a small number or a single game? How many of us have distinct preferences for one type of mechanic over another? How many of us have actually bothered to codify for ourselves certain techniques that allow us to draw closer to the type of gaming that we enjoy most? And how many of us are interested in learning how to talk about what we do so that we can, when we lose people, find others who will, of course, never take their place, but can at least take their seat. Ultimately, our hobby is one inextricably connected to the way we communicate and the people with whom we communicate. It isn't really a hobby all that suited for solo play, and it can be maddening or saddening when you are left without people to game with. Opening up about who we are as gamers, learning to speak about what we like, the way we like it, and making it possible, or more possible, to connect with others, to get back into the hobby if you're out of it, or to restart a group which has faltered because of adulthood and responsibility and whatever else. To inspire other people to make the effort to get a group going. You know, people who've always wondered about why do people role play, or is it any fun? Would I have a good time? Would I be any good at it? Right? We can make all of that easier. The evidence, the inspiration, the communication is now out there in great form for people to find. The question is, What are we going to do next year? Well, that hasn't been decided. And who will be involved? Hasn't been decided. The only thing that has been decided is because of the massive response and the far greater effort to embrace the spirit of the event and its positivity seen this year, that RPG A Day, in whatever form it takes, will be back next year. I'll be a part of it, and I hope you will be too.